Thank you, President Goodnow. And I've also been assured that Bremerton Housing Authority is going to be at the table in many of these discussions. And of course, they operate our voucher program and are very much involved in not only the management, but the development of low-income housing. So obvious partnership there. I've given you props, staff, before, but I have to do it again. Thank you for spending, an hour with me on the phone about this, being the new kid on the block. And I do live in the district and drive through it every day, live in it, very well aware of it. And I think this is a great plan. I think you've pivoted very quickly based on input. And, I might be wrong, but you just don't hear about those things happening. A city government department pivoting quickly because of feedback. That's not a reputation, not just in the city of Bremerton, but all over. So thank you. It seems very well done to me. The elephant in the room, as I suggested on our earlier phone call, is of course the old hospital. And one reason that I really love this plan and making it as streamlined, as efficient, and making it pencil out for developers to come in. I have to go on the record and say, I've been quoted before by saying, I don't know when development became an F word. We talk about child development. We talk about development in many positive ways. And yet, when we talk about developers doing development, sometimes they get a bad rap, and maybe deservedly so. But I've certainly worked with some of our smaller local developers and know that their heart is in the right place, but they cannot secure investments without it penciling out. There's got to be some kind of a profit. If not a huge one, then some kind. It's got to pencil out. So I congratulate you. I really do. The hospital, this plan, and from what I understand from staff, there are projects that are in the pipeline that are waiting to be developed or redeveloped, all those properties. That is a great way of preventing blight. And I am seriously concerned about Harrison Hospital, about CHI Franciscan's commitment, I believe. And Mayor, maybe you can help answer this. I really think the council knows what is the status of that agreement? When might we see demolishment of that? Because my understanding is that is CHI's responsibility in the agreement. And how will that impact the development of all this property or redevelopment? And I have more questions, but I'd like an answer to that one.
Absolutely, Councilor. Your timing is uncanny. I'm going to bring under my mayor's report, and I was going to work with Council President Goodnow, that Director Melton, Chad from the CHI is going to give you an update and give you some hard timelines coming up. And so there's some certainty. I don't want to steal any of his thunder anymore of any, but that's coming in May, first Wednesday in May. And so that's going to answer your questions.
Fabulous. I'm excited. I'm relieved and excited to hear that. Yeah. Heading back to the design and, wood frame, 5 stories, all of that. One concern I have is accessibility. So in apartment building, like you're describing, Mr. Jackson, our are there apartments for those with disabilities on the ground floor? Is there accessibility in these buildings? Because I'm assuming, do they have elevators, all of them? And how does that pencil out in these?
So there are a percentage of all units that are required to be accessible for the International Building Code. Now, those could be on the ground floor, or they could be accessed via an elevator, but there are required numbers of units with every development.
Great, thank you. And then the last thing that I want to ask about, before I do a rah-rah, nobody mentioned the stormwater park. I sure hope that's still in the plan, because I think that's just cool, and environmentally it's sound, and often people want to come and see it, so it's even a nicer attraction for locals and visitors alike. So I'd like clarification of that, and then maybe the mayor, or maybe you, Garrett, could talk about Kitsap Transit. When I was on the planning kind of committee for the SR 303 traffic and transportation plan, I know that Callahan and that whole area, with what was then called the employment zone, Kitsap Transit was kind of all over it. There was already a plan to bring more transit directly into that pocket. Is that still the case?
So Kitsap Transit was one of our interested parties, where we had sent out invitations to each one of these public meetings. We didn't have comments from them. There is existing transit within the sub area. It's already served fairly well by public transit. And I think as far as investments in the future are concerned, we have the investments going into the Warren Avenue Bridge to increase walkability and bikeability. We have investments in the highway corridor there on Wheaton Way that will increase transit, walkability, and bikeability. And within the sub-area plan itself, it may be more of a chicken and egg. What comes first, development and population that then requires additional transit. So we don't have specific changes with this proposal to transit.
And maybe that'll come up when I was talking about how excited for it to start moving up, into those other two zones, because 3 of these 6 zones are in District 2. So I'll be getting a lot of experience working with y'all on as we move kind of up that corridor. But I could swear, maybe Mayor, do you remember? I remember something about even a roundabout, and could it hold buses, and then coming off on Callahan, and there seemed to be maybe in that next phase some planning that would really boost transit access in the east side of village sub area.
Right. Right, Councilor, that's absolutely right. The roundabout, the way it's positioned, and if I had Katie on here, Katie Ketter is project manager for 303 corridor study, but the way it's positioned, it's going to be a real easy loop in getting down into the east side village. And so it makes, anytime we can do that with Kitsap Transit's collaboration, then it's easy for routes to be just slightly adjusted and really maximize the benefit of a route. And the designs, it gets back into these 2 projects running concurrently, parallel paths, and where they get to feed each other. And you're absolutely right. That roundabout is a key. That's one of the key infrastructure projects that we'll be working on
down the road. I know.
Yep.
I know. I'll be patient. I'll be patient, and I won't take up any more time. Thank you. Thank you again, staff. Excellent work, and thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you.